Okay. Good evening, everyone. It is May 8th for our school committee meeting. I will be joining remotely. This is Natasha Rivera. Let me go ahead and begin the meeting script. As chair of this meeting, I need to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. School committee members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mara Hogan,
Yes.
Mary Branley,
Yes.
Hillary Griffiths,
Yes.
Alexis Fishbone.
Yes.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Colleen Andrade,
Yes.
Brian Haas,
Yes.
Wayne
Wayne.
White.
Yep.
He can hear
Okay.
you.
Oh, Wayne, I missed you there in person. Darn. Man, we got to coordinate better. And do we have anybody else staff-wise in attendance in person?
We have several general staff, but
Okay.
that's.
No one, yep. Okay. And then student representatives.
Not attending tonight. AP tests.
Oh,
were
that's
taken.
right. Yep. So we don't have student reps this evening. Thank you for confirming that. On March 25th, 2025, Governor Haley signed into law Bill H62, which extends the COVID era provisions until March 31st, 2027. Primarily, this will allow continue to hold virtual and hybrid meetings, notwithstanding provisions of the open meeting law. This meeting of the Maynard School Committee is being conducted in person and remote via Zoom. While options for remote attendance or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast to remote attendees unless otherwise required by law. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording, which is audible to and viewable by the public. If you plan on recording or broadcast this meeting, please use the raise your hand function to notify the chair as required by law. And nobody else is recording. Along with the agenda, most of tonight's meeting materials are available on the Maynard Public School website in the folder 2024-2025 agendas under the tab School Committee. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda and documents unless the chair notes otherwise. The public comments agenda item is a devoted time for the school committee to hear from the public. As such, its structure primarily supports a unidirectional recording of public comments rather than a bi-directional conversation. Here are the general rules for any form of public comment, period. Any person wishing to speak may make a comment during the virtual meeting by signing up in advance using the link provided with the agenda. Please have your Zoom name match so we'll be able to unmute you to speak. All public comments are limited to 3 minutes to ensure that everyone who wishes to comment has the opportunity to be heard. No persons may comment more than once without permission of the chair, unless otherwise, as time allows, the chair may consider allowing a person to comment a second time, especially if it relates to a topic that has not yet been brought up. Any person wishing to submit a written comment to be read by the chair may do so by emailing comments in advance up until the public comments agenda item to comments for SC meeting at maynard.k12.ma.us. The subject line must state public comment. Please include your first and last name and your town to ensure your comment is read. Comments will only be read for 3 minutes. If the submitted comments are longer, they'll be suspended at the 3-minute mark. To ensure all comments can be read in their entirety, it's suggested that you keep them to approximately 350 words. However, submitted comments longer than 350 words will be included in the public record in their entirety. Anyone wishing to submit a comment for the public record after the public comment agenda item has passed can do so by emailing comments to the same email up until the end of the meeting, specifically stating their desire to have these additional comments included. Before we go on to the first item on the agenda, permit me to cover some ground rules. I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will entertain any motions, comments, or questions. I will go through each member, anyone for additional comments or questions if time allows. Please hold off speaking until your name is called, and remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. If members wish to engage with other members, please do so through the chair. Take care not to interrupt anyone who is speaking. Finally, each vote tonight is going to be taken via roll call because not everyone is in person. So I'll go ahead and Call the meeting to order via roll call. Mary,
Yes.
Hillary,
Yes.
Mauro,
Yes.
Alexis,
Yes.
Natasha, yes. Okay, that is at 7:08. And public comments. I don't think that we had any emails. I don't see anyone with hand raised. Colleen, nothing came in through the link, right?
No.
Okay. All right. We will go on and urgent business. Superintendent Haas, I believe we have one item for urgent business. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
and I can just clarify, please let me know. I know we just met about this in the budget subcommittee. So the urgent business is the school committee needs to vote to allow Wayne to execute the previously approved contract, food service contract, on behalf of Maynard Public Schools. So we already approved it. It went to Desi. Desi made no corrections on there, but the part that we omitted from that first motion is that we now need to allow, permit Wayne to execute the contract with Winston's on our behalf. And so this is just, again, not seeking any other approval or amending anything. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion that we authorize Wayne White to execute the previously approved contract, food service contract for Whitson's for FY 26 through 28. I think that was right, 26, 27, 28. Thank you. And that's it.
Second.
Oh, on behalf of the schools, sorry, add that in there. Second, who was the second? Sorry, I missed that.
Mary.
Mary, okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call, Alexis,
Yes.
Hillary,
Yes.
Mauro,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and Natasha, yes, is unanimous. Wayne, thank you very much for your work on that, and you now have approval to present that, so thank you so much. Now we will move on, no student representative. And we don't have a student representative report. So we'll go ahead and move on to the superintendent report. Brian?
Yeah, glad to be here. A relatively brief report. I feel like we meet quite often. We just an update on the HVAC at Fowler. Our director of facilities, Tony Savard, is still in the process of collecting quotes and proposals for how to address the HVAC units in the most effective manner. So we have a meeting scheduled for next Friday with one of the companies, and will continue to collect quotes. So we'll have an update in another week and a half or so with more specifics and a recommendation based on meeting with these companies. Food service update, which I'm not going to read you the long food service email message, but enough that I wanted you to know that Wixons is really on top of their game in terms of eliminating artificial dyes in food, particularly, and there's a long list of them, which the only one that I actually recognized was Red 40. They're not going to use that anymore, and they're on the front end of that in terms of eliminating food with synthetic dyes. And that's everybody's recommendation. So I just wanted you to know that they're abiding by that even before it's a have to. So good for them. The building project is still on target, on time, on budget. The biggest sort of thing that we're still working on right now. What are we working on? Making sure the playground and the interim playground all rolls out in a timely manner. Things are getting more and more back ordered, so we're just making sure we may have to adjust on some of the items that we said that, oh, we want this particular, for lack of a better word, like swing set, but it wasn't a swing set, it was something else. I know, God, that just shoot my age, I'm sorry. Some of those are really back ordered, so working with Colliers and working with CTA and MVG to see if we can substitute some things that are comparable, but we can get more quickly. So we'll have an update when we have more specific information on that. Maynard High School, and I think you heard about this at a recent meeting, Start with Hello was a presentation to grades 9 through 11 from learning about what was learned from the Sandy Hook Promise professional trainer. I think one of our seniors went to training and then brought that to our high school as well. Went really well. Green Meadow, I'm happy to say that if you saw your email yesterday, I was happy that I was able to send a message about our radon within Green Meadow, and we installed 4 radon mitigation systems in each of those rooms. We are working on repairing all the univents. Actually, the univents have been repaired, and we're balancing the exhaust fans. Not all of those are completed because there's a couple of parts that needed to be ordered for them, but even without those being fully, completely balanced, most of them are, but not all. The 48-hour window showed everything, and you know those numbers 0 to 4 is where you want to be, and closer to 0 is better. We're all below 1. Everyone that got tested was a point. I want to say 0.4 and below. So
Amazing, amazing.
systems, way to go. And thank you to Karen and Tony and there are a lot of people, and Wayne, a lot of people involved, a lot of learning going on about radon, a lot of learning about how to remediate it, etc. So very happy about that. And the last thing in the report are just, there's a couple of links that take you to a recent case newsletter and Aspen Board of Directors agenda, just to keep you apprised of what's happening at other places that we participate with. More recently, which is not in here because I said this earlier, was we got our official letter from DESE for the high school to be an innovation career pathway in business and finance. So the high school and the principal and the teachers, that's exciting. We're happy today. I know there's lots of other exciting topics, so I can restrain. I can use restraint.
Hey,
I'm done.
all right, wonderful, wonderful. Just waiting to get the cue
it's
there.
So I thought I
Yeah.
should clear.
Yes. And just to clarify on the HVAC, because we did talk about this in our budget subcommittee, for general school committee awareness as well, is we had the first estimate, and I know Tony is working on going through getting the bids for multiple vendors because it is a large project through the procurement process. And we are also working on a deadline as far as when we can expense some of those monies as well. So this is where this conversation is just important for us to make sure that we're getting everything right. If there's orderings that needs to be happening, some of those are specifically available only for FY25 because they were given to us in our override. I mean, in the fall in our budget, or through the reserve fund transfer that we recently had, and that does not carry over into next year. So thank you for your work and Tony's work, and also the radon thing. That is really, really great to hear that the numbers are now well below anything that's considered of concern. And so at this point, it sounds like the univents, which are not yet online, but once they do, they will just only add to the improve circulation and air quality there. But they're not required for radon to help with the radon purposes, because the remediation for that is working. So they're not dependent on, I guess, is what I'm meaning. So that's great. I'll go ahead and go through the rest of the school committee to see if anyone has any questions. Alexis?
Nope, no questions.
Okay, Hillary?
Is the playground equipment back ordering, would that cause a gap in actual playground equipment at all? Or do you think you'll be able to find something that will cover that?
I'm gonna, I know.
Sorry, I said that in a weird way.
You did, I understand the question, and if we stuck with what we originally asked for and we can't increase the time delays, then we have a problem, then we have a bit of a problem. But I know both Colliers and CTA and MDG are working on like materials and units to get it here on time. So we'll have the playground through the end of this year, and then we're fine for the summer without, and then we want it in by the end of August. So they know our time frame, and they're working on that. They're adjusting. It's just, I don't know why they're backward as far as they are. So the last we heard, I think it was 16 weeks, which is, that's a lot farther than we anticipated.
But there's other things that are available.
Yep.
So it shouldn't be without,
They're working hard to make sure that we have a playground.
okay.
And Karen and I are on top of that. We talked with them probably twice a week about this topic. And we'll update you once we have a little more finality as opposed to just, we're still waiting. But yeah.
No, that's, I just wanted to make sure you weren't gonna have children that were bouncing off walls.
No, we don't want that. Karen doesn't want that.
I really don't want that.
She does not want that.
I'm sure you don't want it even one of me.
Okay, Mauro,
No, I don't have any questions.
okay. Mary,
Yeah, my only question, it refers back to our budget subcommittee meeting a little while ago. When we talk about the HVAC unit having to be expensed, that just means there needs to be a contract in place for June 30th, correct?
Yes,
Great, okay.
the work doesn't need to be like that.
right, it needs to be encumbered with, I think, a PO, or there's some language in there that, yeah, that it has to be encumbered with like something, yeah. So yeah, exactly, we just need to get to that point where it's, work has started, or agreement, I think, is in place, and, that, but yeah, we don't want to be sloppy about it, I think is what you were,
Are you paying for something before we put it in place? That's all.
exactly. Yeah, I think there was some pieces that before that required, and I don't know if this is same, that was true, because it was train, but that required ordering like the big units, and it was like well in advance. And so that's the part that I was thinking, is if there's this, ordering of major pieces that takes months to come in, that, that potentially maybe might be able to get done beforehand. Because that takes time before the work is actually getting done as well. So, okay, I think that is all for that. And moving on to the next item on the agenda. Colleen, wait, just real quick. Start with hello. What is, Brian, what is that under the agenda? Did I miss something, or?
That was the program at the high school that one of our seniors
Oh,
saw.
that was, yes, okay, that's what it was called. Got it. I misconnecting that, the start with hello. That was the, okay, thank you very much. Okay, and now we're moving on to the FY25, the Q3 financial report to the school committee. And this will be Wayne.
Want me to get you the podium?
Oh, Wayne, you get to
I
stand at
don't-
the podium. This is podium. Does he need a
No, there's
podium?
podium.
Well, I guess.
Oh.
Your show.
Oh,
As long
go
as
sit
you're
next
close
to
enough.
Mauro. Yeah, go sit.
Here, unless you want to stand up.
And actually, years ago, that's actually what our finance, when they were in person, would sit at the table with the school committee, Michelle Resendez and whoever was there. So,
If Wayne wants to come every other Thursday, he's invited.
wow, Wayne, you look so big at the little person table there compared to everybody else.
Don't knock the little bit table.
I know. All right, Wayne, what do you have to highlight for us and to go over for our Q3 report?
The thing that I have to highlight is, as of Q3, we are in good shape. Based on Q3 information, we should finish the year at the town budget. If you
Okay.
look at the numbers that are in here, if you look at the spreadsheets, you'll see I have the school committee appropriated budget and the town budget. As you remember, there's a significant difference between, and I have to get to the town budget. Expenses are at the school committee budget, and the difference is those expenses moved into revolvers, whether it's circuit breaker, or school choice, or that. So you see that on the budget, it's gonna say that at the bottom, based on the school committee budget, there's a surplus of like $900,000 or whatever. Those expenses exist in the revolvers. And if you remember, when you passed the budget, that's what we said we were gonna do, was that we needed to spend above the town, because that's what we needed, and that I was gonna use our reserves to make up that difference. So just so you see, you can say, well, why is there so much money left over? That money really isn't. And so for practical purposes, then on this, I have to hit the town budget, which is the other thing that you see that I had down there on the spreadsheets.
Are we talking
And
about
you
page
see-
11, just to make sure I'm following along with what you're referencing? Is that where you're at? Where it has the town allocation. It says budget
Yes.
balance. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was following along with the chart that you were referencing. Thank you.
So does everybody see what I'm talking about there? As I say, the school committee budget and the town allocation budget, if you're on the spreadsheet. And those are the differences that I'm talking about.
And so just to clarify, Wayne, to make sure that, because I know there's some, not everyone is as close to the numbers. So the school committee budget is beyond what we get at the town because we factor in all expenses and monies for all the other accounts. And so that's where we are approving and allocating more. The town allocated is just the base budget that goes to operation. And so that's where that 200,000 and change reflects what is the balance from that. But the other part is what the school committee had approved because there are expenses that are, and I think you said that, but I just wanted to, kind of clarify for people who don't understand why there's a difference, that the school approves a budget that has expenses that exceed what we get for the town allocation. And so that's why that number is always going to be higher because it incorporates attributing expenses to funds outside of what we get allocated from the town. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Correct, absolutely. Spot on. Other things I want to highlight is food service. I put in here find the numbers of meals we serve. As a reminder, last year, does anybody remember how many total meals at the end of the year we served last year?
Couple 100,000.
180,000 meals last year. So if you look at, I think I want to. Graphs. Yeah. So school meals served year to date, and that's on page 10. The main thing here I want to show you is the graphs. The meals are going up. Both breakfast and lunch. I think that we can extrapolate that, giving our students nutritional meals, and for the most part, they like it. They wouldn't be going up if people didn't like them. And I only highlight that is that I think our food service people do a great job. I know Brian uses them if he has meetings or those types of things. And well, you guys had them, they came in and brought some food to the school committee. And then the next graph I show are revenues, our year-to-date revenues and expenses. And that's a function of the numbers of days meals are served. Obviously, months where we have fewer days or fewer meals, so there's less revenue. But all things being equal, these things are up. And remind you, there's no operating budget money that funds school lunch program. It's 100% off of the reimbursements. Reimbursements are triggered by this term called a reimbursable meal. That's important is, I always get, why does Johnny doesn't like milk? Why does Johnny have to take the milk? Because we have to give certain components, and if the component that is mandatory is missing, you can't count that as a reimbursable meal, and that's money going out the door. So things that have packages or skin like fruit, we have share tables, I believe, in all three schools now. That if I don't want my milk, if I put on the share table, somebody else can have my apples. Somebody else. And also, I hope this isn't breaking whatever terms of the agenda items, but for next year, we are, I think, we covered this before, we have a guaranteed profit from Whitson's going forward. So, that's part of the contract that's written in there. They did the financials and they looked at, once they looked at our income, our expenses, that there's on average going to be about $8,300 a year left over at the end of, $8,300 at the end of the year. So they guarantee us $8,000, and even if they don't, they have to take it out of their administrative fees. So at the end of the third quarter, I think we'll both be good.
Okay. Are you good? Are you, he's good, you're good presenting, you're done, so I can go around, see if anyone has any questions? All right, you look like you were having so much fun sitting there and looking around, like I just want to make sure. I know it's it's a new spot for you. All right, so Alexis, any questions, comments about the Q3 report from Wayne?
I have a question about one of the grants, the Career Pathways,
Okay.
that still has 40,000, almost $41,000 in it that has to be spent in the next 6.5 weeks. Kind of curious what is this the one we just got this and we have to spend it within 2 months before the end of the year? So what is it gonna be, out of curiosity? How are we going to spend down and not?
So the short answer is I don't have the specifics, but I think what you want to hear is we just had a meeting about this, Brian, yesterday, day before.
Yeah.
Just the grant team, the people that actually own the grants that decide, and that was the impetus of the meeting is we have 5 grants that have money in them that have to be spent by June 30. And so between Dr. Gobron and Principal York at the high school, they have assured the superintendent and I that.
I do not like giving money back.
I
Let me tell you right now, if I see that we're giving money back to the state on a warrant, there's gonna be a lot of questions to be asked about
I
that.
don't want to this committee with money.
Brian knows how I feel about that.
So we just had a meeting a couple of days ago about this specific.
Okay, all right. I was just curious because I saw the June 30th and
You're right.
okay.
And everybody, we went around the table for every single grant. They assured Brian and I that they had it under control.
Because sometimes with the grants, not only do you have to spend it, but whatever you're buying has to be on site
Yeah.
by that date. So
Yeah.
the spend actually has to be by the end of May.
Alexis,
got
stop
a
making us
grant.
all more nervous. Alexis, you're
Sorry.
making me more nervous.
Sorry, I'll take my regular hat off and put on.
Think happy
how's that?
thoughts. Think happy thoughts. Like we're gonna get everything in on time and we're gonna spend it and all good juju out there.
Just to your point, just
Yeah.
got a grant approved yesterday,
Yeah, and then you have to.
$35,000.
By June 30.
By June,
But
right,
Liz knew it was coming. So
okay, so
she said she's already got POs and stuff ready to go.
okay.
So,
That was really
just, do you have any more questions, Alexis, on anything else? I thought you said you had 2 questions. Is there another one?
No, that was it, just
Okay.
one.
Oh, okay, sorry. Hillary?
No, just thank you for being so transparent and so clear on the information. It's really about how I read it and understand it.
Right, Mauro?
I had a question about the revenues and expenses for the, food services.
Okay.
So it looks like we're bringing in more than we're spending, so what happens with that?
That's on any given month. Some months then it reverses. Any money that's left over is then kept in a specific revolving account. Like, right. Let's see, food service.
I did see what you're talking about, Mauro, on the chart. It looks like, I thought maybe it was because we have people who are students maybe buying like extra meals, like second meals or something like that. I didn't know if that was attributed to the increase of more revenue.
Talking. Go ahead, Wayne, try and explain again.
So, the question was, if we make more money than what our expenses are, what happens, or where does that money go? It goes into the school lunch revolving account, and if you look, I've given you, on the revolving accounts, the third one down, is school lunch revolving, for example, it's $193,000. That's how the money gets in.
So does that, so is that money used just for like if someone breaks, we just fix it out of that account?
Only
Or is it just food?
only food service. So if Sue says, I don't know,
I
an
mean,
oven broke or
right,
something, I
We
could
can
pay
use
for
it, right,
that out of that.
that.
But like, I couldn't like buy something for the library.
Right, no, I understand,
Right.
okay.
Can I ask one follow-up question? Natasha?
Can we come back around? I just want to make sure. I know Mary had something she wanted to add. Is that okay? I'll come back to you for sure. I just want to get everyone to first pass. Mary?
One question, I think I've got the answer right here, Wayne, but just want to make sure we're in good shape with that circuit breaker involving that we don't send it.
Oh, the 2 years?
I'm
No.
forever wrong.
Yeah, no, I am too here. So to that point, if you remember, one of the things that I offered as a solution is I spend that circuit breaker money up front. And so I had to spend 1.3, and I've already spent that money. I did that, I think, last quarter. So to answer your question, we're good to go. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I just saw the reallocation, 912,000 special education expenses, that's different.
Exactly,
Okay.
that's what I spent on.
Thank you very much. No, that's it.
Okay. I had just two things just to add, because I know there are going to be more follow-up. So some things that we discussed in our budget subcommittee is Wayne is going to be working on getting some information about the solar and the expenses associated with that, just to kind of do a year-to-date how our expenses are doing versus like where are the credits, what the school committee should be seeing. And when we look at the budget, Greg mentioned it at the town level that they had a reduction in their expenses and they attributed it to credits. And so I wanted to make sure that, I believe we were with the understanding that we would have some credits that would be reducing our expenses behind the meter or something like that. So Wayne will be sharing some information at a future subcommittee meeting, a future school committee meeting about that. He's working with Select to get some information on how we can interpret and what we should expect through a special portal. So that was one thing I wanted to just add for context. And then the other part that came up was we will be also expecting to get some more information about revenues that are coming in through advertising for the field and the banners and all that, and how that's, coming in and where that money's going, and all that jazz as well. So those are two things that aren't, but they were discussed recently. So just for school committee awareness, I thought that would be important to also add that we can expect at a future meeting. And Wayne, I had one question for you about the food service reserve fund. Um, in the event that we have a balance there, like towards the end of the year, could the school committee or would an appropriate use of that be if we wanted to, I guess, close out some accounts that were for people, I don't know, like if there's aging accounts that had like, I don't know, underprivileged, or is there some discretion there that the school committee would be able to use those funds for school purposes in that way?
Forgiving some debt.
Yes,
That-
yes, for
that
some
was my-
debt. Oh, it was? Oh, good, good. That's what
It was,
I
that was me.
yeah, I know that sometimes there, I mean, again, with discretion, obviously, for certain instances, but I'd like to consider, I'd like to understand what is allowable. Doesn't mean we'll do it, but I want to make sure first, is it an allowable option? And then maybe at a future meeting, we can decide if if it is allowable, then we can go into a deeper conversation if that's something that, the amounts would support and what amount would support based on any recommendation. But if it's not allowable, then we could just stop the request there. So that would be the ask from you. If you can confirm with the DESI accounts. I think it can, but I can't remember. I've looked at a couple and this one didn't, I can't remember this one.
I thought we've done that in previous years.
This
We
is what
have,
do.
it's been a while, but I didn't know if it was out of this account.
Every year, we go through the senior class who has a positive balance, and we give them several options. They can get a full refund, they can pass the money on to a sibling in the school district, or they can donate to students who may need assistance. And you'd be surprised how much donations we get, and we've been very fortunate, especially lately with the free lunches,
Yeah.
that number of debt is greatly reduced from, say, 5 years ago.
Oh, good. No, and I'm so appreciative of that. Because I think now is a time when so many opportunities to support those in need are being curtailed in the community and just, at large. I don't want it to feel like we are retaining, revenues off, for something off the backs. Like we don't normally expect revenue from food service, right? It is something that comes in and is a wash, and it's great to have, but if there's an opportunity to look at it in a different way, and if there's, I don't even know what that debt, that listing looks like. So maybe we would start with that if it's allowable. What does that look like?
Yeah, I haven't seen it recently, but we don't carry a lot of unpaid food service debt.
Right.
Because in previous districts where I've been, DESI can step in, district where I was before my predecessor, had not collected service debt over like a 3-year period. And finally, DESI stopped reimbursement and said that I had to write off that bad debt by applying into the operating budget. It's like $30,000 that the operating budget took a hit.
Mhm.
Recognize that debt. So I'll check, I made a note, but you don't have a whole lot of debt, and certainly, I'll look and see about.
And
Well,
maybe
for-
that's yeah, even if it's allowable, just knowing that would be helpful for, for our understanding is what does the general debt schedule look like? I
Yep.
only bring that up also in particular because at the town budget meeting recently, they talked about, they had a really a steep increase in revenue that came in for rentals at the town, which was a little bit unorthodox. And a lot of it was attributed to them going back and like through a collection process for people who owed some things. And so there was kind of this uptick in closing out some debt that they were able to collect and, to close out. So that's why I was wondering, I don't imagine we have a lot of debt anyway that's carried over, but if we did, and there's an opportunity, it would be great to understand with the funding, if there's flexibility there for that, just to even know. Hillary?
I was gonna say, if you can't get an income statement with the end of this, would you be able to see what's older than a year or what's more?
I'll see. Yeah. I'll look.
Okay. Any other
Um,
questions on, oh, sorry. Did you have something else you wanted to add, Wayne, about the information?
$190,000 in there. That sounds like a lot of money. It's not.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Hudson's invoices every month can be anywhere from $70,000 to $90,000. So that's like a month and a half of Whitson, so $190,000 in this case is not a whole lot of money.
Mm-hmm. And I also would be helpful to know, again, not knowing what's going to happen in the future. So if there was some change to the USDA or the reimbursement program or whatever, maybe we would not want to, like, because next year there's a lot of changes that are happening at the federal level. So I don't want to decide yay or nay. These are just some things that would be great to understand. So maybe retaining it might be better because of the unforeseen circumstances of next year, and who knows how the food service program could be changed at the reimbursement level in some way. So
Also
Thank you.
along those lines, we haven't raised our meal prices in a while. Now, it kind of doesn't matter because everybody's free. But to your point that if things revert back where they are paid, we're under where we're supposed to be. If you remember the last time I came to you and asked for an increase, DESI mandates that you keep a certain floor on your prices because they don't want the subsidies, in other words, the free and reduced people to carry the program. They want the paid people. And the only way you do that is to keep your prices where they're supposed to be. And right now, we would need to increase. So that's coming in the next few months about
Yeah,
pricing.
no, I think that should be an annual exercise with all of our fees, to be honest with you. At this point, like bus, tuition, athletic, activity fee, I think all of those really should just be probably on an annual reevaluation schedule. Things are so, up and down. And I think it just is something we should just pencil in on an annual basis to reevaluate where we are and how we're meeting those areas. Because the last thing I think we want is to see a steep increase in any one year, right? I think that's what we would rather see, a more gradual, like, 25 here, like if it's like bus fees, 25 versus $100 in one year, right? That feels a lot more heavy of a lift for any family to do. Same thing with all the other stuff as well. Mary, did you have another question?
Follow up to Wayne, a question, where the kids, the first meal is free, but then if they get a second meal, they're paying. Are we, should we be making adjustments with those like now going into 2026?
Yeah.
For those kids?
So my radar, yeah.
That's what he was saying. In 2 months, we should be, I think is that what you were talking about, Wayne? That fee, that dollar amount we should be in 2
Yeah,
months.
that's
We're gonna
our
be
regular fee. It applies go back to the old system where everybody pays for the second
Right.
meal.
Right, second meal.
But so in theory, right now, if a person gets that second meal, it's a little under where it should be.
So we should be making that adjustment.
Right.
And then the other question I've got is, since Karen is here, Karen, one of the comments is about the preschool and really trying hard to make sure that every kid gets in preschool, even if they can afford it. What do you do? I know I've asked this question before, but you haven't been here to actually ask the person, because it is pretty much subsidized by the state. How do we reach out to those kids?
Right, so in our application packet, we include the supplemental low income form. And so when families complete that, then we submit it to the business office. And then they structure payment schedules for that person.
So there are parents out there don't even make the effort because they don't have any kids in the school system yet, and they have preschool. I've heard it. Like I'm, and I can talk to them and say, yes, you can, but if they don't verbalize, if they just don't even come forward, they just say, can't do it. So how are we getting out to those kids?
So that's a question that we've actually been working through, Brian and Wayne and myself, to figure out how to best do that. In the new school, right now, we have 4 preschool classrooms and we have a wait list, right? And so in the new school, we will be able to have 5 preschool classrooms, which then gives us a little more flexibility to be able to honor everybody who's on our wait list, to be able to do more of an active outreach, because it is something that we grapple with all the time. But right now, at this point, the decision was to open an extra classroom right now means purchasing everything we need, and that's all going to be there in the new school. And so it's not a perfect plan, but
Okay, that's one of the reasons I brought in class, yeah.
But as families that we know, we do encourage them, we set up an appointment, we'll help them fill out all of that paperwork. But how we're reaching out to families that just don't know about us yet, that's a little trickier. We do work with agencies in town, right, to help us identify, yeah.
And Mary, just to add, I know this is what Heather had talked about previously about Child Find, and she has like done that new outreach. And I remember there was like you guys had talked about her giving you some information about even the food pantry of families, and so they can kind of bring them in. So I know that that's part of that effort of, getting into the community and finding like at the current preschool. So I don't want to get off topic too much, but I just wanted to make sure. So any other questions on the finance presentation? No, Hillary, did you have another question for the finance presentation?
Have you talked to Emily Black from the police department?
She have a good partnership.
Okay.
And
All right.
we
So
have been some charges for people. So things have bubbled up to me, and
Yeah, we're just getting the outreach out there, so parents that just automatically say, no, can't afford it, and they don't make the call, so. See if there are options, so unless they run into somebody that say, yes, you need to reach out, like I probably start with the entry and go to it.
Right.
all right.
When it comes.
And so Mary, next year when preschool enrollment opens, let's connect prior to that, because what ends up happening too is that we do develop a wait list. So we could reach out now, but then that person would be on the wait list, which is, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Wayne, Karen, everybody, thank you very much for the information that we've been provided, and I know we're going to talk about budget again in a little bit, so we'll just go ahead and moving on to the next item on the agenda is the FY26 school budget approval and allocation. And so this, for context, this is basically based on, it's been a lot of changes for where we started in December to where we are now. And actually, hold on one moment. Let me go back to the prior agenda real quick before we get deep into this. This is something else. So that I had a note and I wanted to mention. So Peter Campbell from FinCom joined our budget subcommittee as a listening in, and we were talking about the FY25 budget. And I wanted to emphasize here, I emphasize there. I'm trying to emphasize everywhere. So the the end of the year report that Wayne prepares, that includes information from the town about expenses that they attribute, that they spend on behalf of the school, gets compiled, gets sent to the state DESE, and then that number eventually is used to determine what our per pupil spending dollar looks like. And so I think we've talked about it in this meeting, but I wanted to make sure school committee had awareness on. So the expectation is that for FY25, when that closes, that we've asked Brian and Wayne, and I know Brian's talked to Greg, the town administrator, to make sure that we are reevaluating what those expenses are for FY25 that they are attributing to the school. Some of those expenses are they can attribute. We need to agree on the amount, like how much is a percentage. And then some of those expenses require school committee approval, which has not been sought. One of those I think we all had seen before was there was a facilities position that was being expensive. And we pay for our own facilities director. So some things like that, we just need to go through with a little bit more fine tooth comb and come to a collective understanding that yes, we are in agreement with this, or no, we are not in agreement with this, to make sure everyone, because that number has impacted going back years, the number that is attributed to administration. And when you hear people in the community looking at and it says, oh, we have so much administration, what we've found recently, thanks through Wayne's connecting with DESE, is that all the numbers that the town has provided on behalf have been added to the school's expenses for administration and have inflated that number. So it is not just school administration that is being shown in that breakdown for per pupil spending when anyone goes now to look at the DESE numbers from that are posted for FY20. And it gets posted very late. So it's like right now, like FY23, so just for context, that the expectation is for FY25, we will see a correction there. And then we also need to address, there is supposed to be some type of maybe memorandum of understanding between the school and the town for certain agreements on what we agree on certain position of allocation, so that when we all are moving on from the board, this is a document that, can continue on and a process that everyone knows on. So I just wanted to clarify also to add that for the FY25. So we should see some information, hopefully over the summer, that might change what that number might see like for FY25 as well. Any question on that? Or Mary, I know that you were there, and if you had anything else. Peter, FinCom was very interested in that as well. So that is something that FinCom and the select board will be also looped in on as well. Okay, now moving on to FY26, the school budget allocation. Brian, thank you very much, and everyone for the presentations that you guys have done last week. We didn't have a lot of turnout, but the presentation is the same as last Wednesday for the FY26. And then looking at the way what we are looking to approve for the school committee, we would be looking to approve, as we mentioned, which was showing for FY25, whatever of all the revenue sources, what we're allocating. So we're approving a certain amount and allocating. And I just want to confirm with all the school committee members that we are still of the position and belief that we are going to approve pending, like with assuming that the override passes. And then if it doesn't, then we have to come back and revisit. So it'd be more of a contingent approval. And I just want to make sure, just to kind of do a straw poll, that still aligns with what everyone is at. So Alexis, does that sound still with what you're
Yeah, absolutely.
okay? Hillary?
Yeah.
Mara, that still sounds where we're still at. We're gonna do like a contingent approval, assuming town meeting
Yeah.
approves okay. And then Mary, that sounded like from the budget subcommittee, that was, okay, great. So we had our public hearing. We didn't get a lot of questions, but I wanted to just very happy for anyone who has been staying connected to the budget conversations. Looking at the information that we have, hold on, let me refresh my screen. Okay. And Colleen, did you see the information that I was or Wayne, what I had sent over after our meeting. So there was a breakdown for a budget summary that was in prior presentations.
Yes, and something was sent back to you.
Is that the
was,
comparison? That's what that comparison is, right?
Your
That
comparison.
got it.
Done.
Thank you. Okay, so I know for school committee, this is something I think it came up last time. But thank you, Colleen and Brian and Wayne for getting that. There's in the folder, there's an FY, a comparison for different years that looks at a little bit more in detailed, the budget for FY 25, FY 24, and then the FY 26 information that we will, so under the different cost centers. So for administration, it is that, oh dear, let's see. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, now I need to count spaces because those don't, that's without decimals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so that's that 1070173 is the FY. That would be the allocation, correct, Colleen?
Yes, and the numbers are correct in the motion.
In the motion, thank you. Yeah, okay.
There is a 5,000 cost center expense that I put in there that was mistakenly under administration. And we realized
Okay. Yes, I see that. Okay. That benefit separation. Okay.
But I confirmed those numbers match the sheet Wayne presented tonight to us.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any additional questions? I'll just go through everyone about what we're going to be approving or about the budget for FY 26 that we just talked about in the budget hearing. Alexis?
No.
Okay. Hillary?
No.
Mauro, any other questions?
No.
Mary?
Oh, I just wanted to make a comment that, one of the main reason that Peter Campbell came to our budget subcommittee meeting a little while ago was to understand what the cuts would be, if you don't get the override. So, because as Natasha had said, the finance committee the other night, we missed the voting to support the override. And so he was putting together, language behind it, so much appreciate doing that, so. But no, I have no questions about this.
Yeah, Peter's doing the FinCom comments or recommendation comments. So yeah, which is great. Okay, so then the only question I have would be, and this might be for both Wayne and Brian really, is so this budget is approving with our current rates that we have for bus and meals and fees that this currently. So I know that we haven't gone too much in depth on an analysis of what those are if we want to change them. But if we do change them afterwards, so for instance, if there's a decision that the school committee wants to increase the bus fee, would that be something that goes to a certain separate revolver account?
Yep.
Okay. That's what I wasn't sure if there's it's the transportation, right?
Transportation revolving.
Yeah, okay. So it wouldn't necessarily, it would just increase the revenue that we would be bringing in. It wouldn't really impact the budget allocation. And the same would be true for preschool tuition or the activity fee, correct? None of it would impact the allocation. It would just me bringing in more revenue. So maybe the expenses would be less if we, at some point. Okay. Got it. I just wanted to just make sure I understood the process there. Okay, so then let me go back to motion that is in the folder. Okay. Oh, thank you, Colleen. All right. Oh, there we go. Okay. So, and Colleen, that number that 24,744,839 is,
Came off the latest budget presentation. Yes.
got it. That was the number from the town plus the
School-
override. Right, the
That's your
town, but, okay. I just wanted to, because I didn't actually do the math on that one, so I just want to make sure. So that number, that 24,744,839,
That's our operation.
hmm. Okay, and that includes the town, which is 23,751. So that's the new number, the new base, and then the 612 and the funds from reserve and retirement. Retirement savings.
Yes.
I don't know if that's not revenue though. That would just be a less of an expense, right? So we're not gonna put in there that we're not getting revenue from that we would allocate.
Have a higher number budgeted. So the anticipation is someone with a lower salary would replace those slots. Therefore, that revenue would be saved because of the budget.
Okay. Okay. All right, I think I kind of understand that. All right. So I will go ahead and make a motion to contingently approve the FY 26 Maynard Public School budget allocation of $24,744,839, pending approval of the school override and FY 26 town budget articles at the Maynard Town annual town meeting on May 19th and approval of the override at special election held on May 20, was it? The 27th, yes. Into cost centers, 1,000 for $1,070,173, to cost center 2,000 for $17,899,044, for cost center 3,000 for $1,690,036, cost center 4,000 for $2,097,007, for cost center 5,000 for $60,000, and cost center 9,000 for $1,929 and $1,928,578.
Second,
Okay, and any further discussion?
You just say the 9,000 again, I think you said it different, it's on,
9,000 is for 1,928, wait, $1,928,578. Sorry if I said it wrong.
Okay.
Is that different somewhere else?
I thought you said it differently than last time.
I probably said it wrong. I'm sorry. So yeah, just to clarify, 9,000, cost under 9,000 is for $1,928,000, $578. Anything else? Any other questions? And then did somebody second that, right? Mauro, you seconded it?
yes,
Okay, all right, roll call. Alexis,
Yes.
Okay, Hillary,
Yes.
Mauro,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Natasha, I am a yes. Thank you all very much. And just to, and Wayne and everyone who's worked on this, I know this is a little bit unorthodox, so if the override passes, we move on. If the override doesn't pass, we reconvene, and we have already scheduled a budget subcommittee meeting on the 28th. In the event we need to regroup and consider, evaluate our plan Z for that. So thank you all very much. And I think that is it for that particular topic. And then now moving on to the next item on the agenda, is annual town meeting and override planning. So just to kind of recap, we've held 2 different public forums. Last Wednesday, there was not a lot of turnout. Everyone was pretty much remote, except for we did have one attendee in person. Brian gave a presentation. We didn't have really any questions. It was the full presentation as well, but Brian didn't go into like all the different goals and all of that again, focusing more on the dollars of what was changed. It was like 612 because that was kind of newer data, but all the information was accessible for folks from the larger presentation as a whole. And then Saturday, the school committee had time at the Maynard Library, scheduled from 1 to 4. We had 0 attendees. And so, but it also was the art walk and a lot of just town happenings. But, so we, try to, be flexible and offering, being available to answer questions. I know that next week there's a couple of different things happening. So at Fowler at the school, and I think it would be helpful if we can just maybe look at who's going to be going where, to final. Ooh, some lightning outside. So Mauro, you had put together that wonderful, added those what those events were in our outreach, and I'm looking to pull it up right now. Where it was Wednesday. Where's the outreach spreadsheet? I never save this.
That gold in our goals, folder.
Our gold. I always I have it starred, but this is the problem. I star everything, so now everything is just starred. So that's probably part of my problem. It doesn't stand out anymore. All right, here we go. Outreach. All right. So we have the Fine Arts Night, which is on the 15th. And that is next Thursday. I can do that. I see Mary, thank you you had put something there. So I don't know if we want to go through. We also have Alexis, were you available? I know you also were a parent. So wanted to, maybe you and I can do a swap out, or
My kids could care less if I'm there, just as long as.
Yeah.
So, want to swap out? It doesn't matter to me.
yeah, I just want to make sure at the table how, if we're doing it, that there's not more than 3, not more than 2 people there, because it's, we're not it's not a meeting and we're not going to be posting for it. So it just really should be, 2 school committee members, no more than 2. manning the table. If that's what we want to do. I just wanted to, so Mary, are you able to do the 15th? I saw that your name there. I just want to confirm because I know this is also super busy time for you as well. Okay, so you are a yes. Okay, so if I put for the 15th, Mary, me, and so put and Alexis, Natasha and Alexis will swap out.
That works.
Okay. All right, so we will work that, and that is for the 15th. The 21st is the family trivia night. And that looks like that's from 6 to 8 at Fowler. I don't know if anyone else is available for that particular event.
I probably could do that if someone could do it with me, because
Yeah, I think each of them should be 2 people, for sure. Um, um, let's see, what day was that again? Hold on. Is that a Thursday as well? Or Wednesday?
On the 15th, that Thursday, what is that, the Book Fair Art Project in Green Meadow? 2 of you should make a point to
Oh,
attend.
yeah, because we didn't have, I think that was the problem, is we didn't have one, like an event at Green Meadow. We were just kind
Oh,
of,
you
it was really like before and after, and that didn't really seem to work for everyone.
A lot of
So,
parents there, whoever
yeah,
can make.
when is that? When is
It's
that
also
again?
the 15th. It's just happening before Fowler's Fine Arts Night. So ours is 3 to 5:30.
So then you just come over here, you do both.
Okay. It's the same as Fine Arts Night, you said?
Yes, but ours is 3 to 5:30.
So
All
I can
right.
do that. If somebody wants to do Green Meadow with me. And then it's over here.
All right,
Okay.
so Mauro, are you adding that on there for the Green Meadow one? Let me look and see if I can, because I'm local, let me see if I can sign out early.
Best in. They're in it for the long haul.
Ew, I can't do 3 on the 15th.
I think I can do that.
Okay, okay, that would be great. So, so are you able to put it, so it's not the cultural, it's the fine arts, right? The 15th?
Cultural is tonight.
Right, so the one that is at Green Meadow, it's the fine arts night, but it's
It's the same night. It's Thursday, the 15th, but ours is 3 to 5:30 and it's
Got
our
it.
book fair art walk.
Got it. Okay, perfect. We got it. We got it. Thank you. We got that. Thank you so much. And then the 21st for family, I want to actually, maybe we see the high school because I want to make sure we at least touch the high school, each school once. So it looks like a couple of events that they have there, or more, they're all pretty much concerts. So I don't know the best one for,
Well.
Huh?
I mean, if you guys get there in like 5 minutes.
is there
What-
something at the high school that could be, I don't know if anyone can do, like, or if anyone's going to one of those things anyway.
The 26th, that's in our school committee meeting.
Yeah, so that's a no.
Everybody can be on the committee.
Can we provide them with handouts just to give out with the dates for town meeting and special election?
Yeah, town meeting will take place, but the election, yeah.
No, town meeting's the next.
Yes, the 22nd.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the jazz band one too. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say by then I wouldn't want the staff to be doing any handouts because like the school committee can like advocate and whatever, but at that point it would the
Yeah.
decision it would have already happened, I think, for voting. So it would just be telling people go to the election, so I don't know if anyone could do the 14th, maybe that might be, you know, you can kind of sway people a little bit more with at least going to the meetings on the 14th. So that's what, Wednesday? I don't know if anyone is able to do, Wednesday. Oh, you guys, there's a policy subcommittee meeting that night, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
If it-
well,
Can't take stuff out. I might be able to make it. I don't know. I gotta look.
okay, so we'll just put you down as tentative for that one. And I think it's really gonna only, I mean, it's nothing during, so it's like either catching people before, right? Before they're going in, because they're gonna be at a concert and, you know, or being there after. That's how I imagine one or the other, you know, or just, or going.
But work, I don't think people are gonna care when they're coming out. I think they're just gonna be ready to go.
I don't know, sometimes they take like pictures and group, you know, there's like people do congregate in the lobby a little bit afterwards. So, okay, doesn't sound like anyone's set on what we should do with the high school. So for now, it looks like we have a tentative for the high school. Alexis, I'll put maybe, we'll see how, as we get the next couple days. Oh, that's not that one, on the 14th, right? And then we can maybe discuss what your availability might be, or what we kind of have to mind, or if there's a handout or whatever that might work. And then we're going to hit up Fowler on the 15th. There is another opportunity for Fowler on the 21st. So that would, again, be after the fact. But I think focusing on the ones before town meeting would be probably the priority, which it looks like we're able to do for the most part. And then, you know, we can always decide after. We'll see after how town meeting goes, and maybe, you know, someone wants to be available for those other ones. Anything else on those outreach? Anything else? No? All right. And then for planning purposes, Brian has graciously volunteered to be the primary presenter for any school-related budget aspects for the presentation, if the select board article, but Brian will be the subject matter who will be speaking on that. And Mauro, I know you and I had talked about, you know, just kind of taking the presentation that we have, and we'll need to slim it down for what is available, like what a Dick version for the moderator. And that's going to be maybe about 5 slides, and, you know, certain font and all of that, font 18 to 22 font. But then we had talked about having another version that is also just the fuller version, or something, you know, to that effect, that we would want to have printed and have handing out for annual town meeting, because the full version won't be available. So if people want to see, you know, historical stuff or whatever, they can. But the one that that Brian is going to speak to on the presentation, on the overhead, isn't going to be the larger one, because Dick will lose his mind on that.
Did with the blurbs about each of the 3 schools and how awesome they are now.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the first part. What were you saying?
You know, the handout we made a little while ago with the blurbs from each of the 3 schools.
Yeah.
Put together,
Yeah.
I was thinking it was great.
Seems like that would be a great thing to hand out at town meeting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can put that in the packet, so we can look and see tomorrow that maybe that's a page that we would want to include.
Right.
You know, maybe that's the cover page. You know, maybe we make that the cover. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I do think that would be a good one to hand out as well. And do we have? I know the Maynard Advantage is looking for some information soon. Do we have some information about that we would want to share about students? I know that there's an Instagram account that, but about like where people are, been accepted to or something to that effect, just this time of year, if there's anything like that that we could share with the Maynard Advantage, like these are, colleges that our seniors are, have been accepted to, that would be something I think helpful. I know, Mary, you've spoken to that a couple of times, and it would be great to,
Amazing places next year.
yeah, yeah, and maybe we can think about if not, or we can look in what we're putting out and adding, as of, this time, these are, some colleges that students are going to have been accepted to. We can add that to the larger one that Morrow did. Okay, and then the other part from a planning Monday is the meeting that is going to be the prep meeting that Dick holds in the town council will be there to go over all the articles. It is a large, a very, 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 a lot of articles. So is everyone available for both days? I just want to get a sense of who's going to be here for one or both days. And because Colleen, we might need to do another quorum notice for,
For town meeting?
yeah, if it gets extended,
For both days?
yeah,
I believe so.
because the one that we have is just for the I think it was only the 19th, right? Yeah,
I'll
so
do it.
okay, yeah, if you could just do another quorum notice that for the 20th for the school committee, that would be great.
I'm not
And then-
certain about being able to come the second night.
That's okay. I just, if 3 people, if we have 3 people there, I just want to make sure we have a quorum notice posted. I'll be there both nights. Alexis, are you going to be there? Okay. Morrow, are you going to be there?
Well. I prefer not to. I mean, I was planning on
Well,
going.
you're a resident. Don't you want to listen to all the vote
Okay,
on the other
but I
stuff?
wasn't planning on sitting on the stage.
Oh, okay. Well, they might not have us on the stage anyway, but I don't know if there's going to be any questions.
The
for
second
school.
day, I feel like there wasn't a whole lot, although they did just mention about the, whatever, the free cash. So, other than that, I was just planning on going to vote, but not like to sit on the stage and vote.
What do you think? You're going to hide in the audience and leave a, no, ma'am. Mary, are you going to be there both nights?
No,
No,
I take the scholarship committee, so we already had a meeting scheduled for that, for the Tuesday. Monday I will be there.
So Monday you'll be there, not Tuesday. Morrow, you're going to be there both days. You're just not sure where you're sitting, right? You might be hiding, but you're going to be there both days. Hillary, you're definitely for day 1, not sure for day 2. And then Alexis.
You're all on day 2.
Okay, and Alexis, you're there for both days as well?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like, yes, we do need a quorum notice, whether we're sitting together or not. We'll need one. Yeah, it's better the quorum will be there. Okay. And then the only other thing that I wanted to, well, 2 things. One is I was contacted by, hey, you guys, I'm going to, Alexis and Hillary, you guys are like the chatty catty people in the meetings having sidebar conversations. I'm gonna have to separate you guys. So I was reached out by a parent recently who was not happy with the free cash allocation, that it didn't include school, the demo for the bleachers. And so just for awareness, there may be some amendments on the floor for that, but I just wanted to share. I don't know, I've only been contacted by one person. about it, and I was like, you know, it was a recommendation based on how it was put through, but they were not happy that no money was put towards the demo, to prioritize the demo of the bleachers. So anyway, I just wanted to let the school committee know. Oh, whoever's leaving, bye.
Starting to rain, it's lightning and thundering, people are nervous.
I can see like the whole place is evacuating there. So anyway, so for you guys, just there might be some action on the floor to amend a free cash potentially regarding um the demo of the bleachers. And then I think that's really it. Oh, and I'll finalize, Brian, a comment so that we can kind of publish, you know, a formalized document to publish for, you know, comments for the school committee and the superintendent about like, these are the things, so we can get that out before the week, before Saturday. So anything else for town meeting planning questions? No? All right. I think that's it for that. And then moving on to policy. So I know we're not, Maura, I'm gonna turn this over to you. We're not doing a first read, but do you have some updates about the school handbooks?
So Lori and I met Monday. And we went through the Green Meadow, Fowler, the athletes handbook and the coaches handbook, and we had a bunch of changes, mainly a lot of policy stuff about that old policy stuff in there. So we, marked it all up, sent it back to the leadership. They are working on it now. So we have another meeting next Wednesday night. I expect to have pretty much everything back, including the high school one. We did not see that one.
Would it be possible to tell the high school about the changes we have for Green Meadow and Fowler?
I actually met with all three principals
Okay.
yesterday and went through it, and told them what to look for, to pay attention to the policies. I've spoken out a few of the policies of some of them. I just got high school today, and I made some suggested changes to them. And I sent it back to Liz tonight. Hopefully she wants me to get a fresh copy to you or with my suggested changes. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
Green Meadow had, they had reordered some stuff, and Hillary and I really like that. So we have suggested that the rest of them do that, but what I hear, that's going to be a huge job, so possibly for next year.
It was something that they had identified last year for Green Meadow, that starting with like, it could be more welcoming, to start with like, here's how our school
Yeah.
works, instead of starting with discipline.
Okay.
And like Fowler starts with discipline.
Okay.
It did make it, Gary mentioned that last year, it made a big difference.
It
reading
did, yeah,
It seemed minor, but it really
I know,
set a totally
yeah.
different tone.
it definitely did.
Yeah, I think it would be great when we're, again, I know any progress with getting alignment between the three different handbooks is great. So baby steps. And ultimately, I think once we are able to get a formatting, if that's the next year, to do that, I think that will help families as they're transitioning through the public schools, right? So they're kind of having expectation, like I get this at, Green Meadow, and this is the format will kind of be the same, and it shouldn't be like reinventing the wheel at each school. So I think that'll be helpful in the long run. Mauro, Hillary, thank you very much for the work on that, and Brian and the leadership team. And Colleen. Yeah, do
So,
you have questions on that?
yeah, I just have a process question. So it's gonna come to us, we're gonna read it, we're gonna approve it before June 30th. there is currently a bill in the legislature regarding cell phone policy for public schools in Massachusetts
Mhm.
that I am sure will get voted on. If that comes into fruition and we have already approved the handbooks for next year, how do we incorporate a potential new state law regarding cell phone policy if it is different than what is already in each of the handbooks? Is
So
that?
we would have to first look at, excuse me. Um, yeah, so we have a phone policy. So we would have to first amend like, see what needs to be amended for our phone policy. And what is like statutory, what is not statutory to follow. And then once our phone policy is amended, then we would look at the handbooks to see where reference that would be. But I think it's a call out for Mauro, you and Hillary and the leadership. I don't know how it's worded in there, but is it vague enough to, do we want to say, or we just may have to just update the handbook when it might not go into effect until the following year, or, it might not be right away. It might be, by
I don't think
January.
to finalization to really worry about trying to be consistent with a future policy. Like they seem
I'm
like they're
just
still
curious.
collecting info. Like our legislators reached out, were like, we'll have ideas about this. Like it wasn't. Like there's not like a draft that they're gonna be voting on yet. Like I think it's gonna be.
No, there is one in already.
I think they're still like an editable stage. Like they're not final.
Right. So her question was about process, was what would happen whenever that it gets approved
No, I
and
know, but like, if it were ready to be voted on and we thought it was gonna pass, we could try to be consistent with it. But I feel like it could still substantively change before it's voted on. So we can't really just predict and try to be,
No,
Yeah.
I was just sort of curious, since we're
Yeah.
gonna vote on it.
Yeah.
And they're signing it,
yeah.
which I think I never signed one.
yeah. So we don't need to predict me. I think it was a good question because
But
yeah.
like, if for some
Yeah.
reason it magically happens and the kids and the staff and everybody, parents are used to this, but then there's change with how the phones are supposed to be, I don't know, collected by the school, something along those lines. I was curious how that gets into the handbook, because then we also have to do that outreach and communication to families that there is this change.
So I would also kind of, like policies can change at any point during the year, after handbooks are approved. And so I don't know, Brian, if there's general language that just, that says, just like a kind of clause or something that, subject to change pending, new I don't know, something like that. Because, if there's a law, you have to follow it. And that supersedes what our policy would be. I feel like I'm missing out on what you guys are chuckling about.
All you said is, if there's a law, we have to follow it. And I said, no, you don't. Sometimes it's more,
I know. Well, yeah, I was asked recently about following executive orders and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So,
always.
Orders aren't laws.
No, they are not.
okay,
There.
so now we are moving, anything else on the policy, on the handbooks before we move on to the next policy, which is the social media? Mauro, do you want to?
No, let's see, we mainly changed the, or updated the cross references on this one. Just going back, just to make sure that. Basically, that was basically it. think Mary had a question about, staff members making an administrator aware of, communication about something, but we eliminated the section that she was commenting on. Yeah. And we added a sentence at the very end of the last sentence in the whole policy, was updated.
Okay. I had, oh, wow, it's really coming down out there. I had a question about this, and this is not, it's related to it, but it's only, I don't believe it's addressed in the policy, and I just wanted to ask. So there are many different type of social media accounts that it's hard to understand which ones are attributed to genuine school ones versus what might be student ones. Is it worthwhile that we would have, or we should have a list of which ones are like school sanctioned versus not school sanctioned, which might be student accounts separately? They might say Maynard in them, because I've gotten questions, during the year. Specifically, Instagram seems to be a lot of them. Some of them are certain groups or student groups. But I also sometimes can't tell the difference on which ones are actually Maynard controlled always. And I was curious what the committee thought about, or Brian, thought about, do we have a comprehensive list, or which ones are actually school sanctioned versus, like, so if there's information that looks questionable on something, we can say like, yes, that is a school, account, or no, that's not a school account.
I could get you the list of school accounts. I mean, I don't know who else has accounts out there, whether they're students, parents.
No, and that's what I think it's more of just understanding which ones are really like, and this might be an appendix, an example of lists that we would, kind of that would accompany the policy. Like we would have, like, some of them, they have like classes, right? So each at the high school, you have different like class of this, class of that, which are school sanctioned, right? That's how they do advertising for the grades or graduation. I think that's what those are. But I know that there's students and there's different participation on them. I don't know if that is an administrator who's also, administrating that account, or if it is a more of like a parent or outside entity that is, creating those. I know we have like the athletic one, which is the school one. So it would be clear to like say like this one is a school controlled account, right? The athletic, athletic department. But there are other ones that are not, like might say varsity this, or is that a student account versus athletic department account? There's just a lot of, it's hard to differentiate which ones that we do have oversight over for me. And I think it would be very helpful to just make sure that it's easy to just create one, and students might be doing that on their own. I just want to make sure we're clear. How can a parent or anyone in the public look at an account and differentiate this is a Maynard account versus this is a student account? And I just want to have a way. I'm more controlled with how can we differentiate it's a Maynard Public Schools account for us, that those are the ones we have oversight over, and how can we tell?
So recently I created a high school, the photo competition that we do every year with Beef and the high school. And I created a Instagram account, and I ran it by what, I can't remember his name. He's the IT guy, the IT director, John, right? I ran it by John and also, Colleen. And John basically said that he needed to have like the name of it and. you know,
Right.
So I actually have not done that, so I will do that.
Well, no, and that's my point. Like there's like archiving requirements that come into play when you have school records or school accounts. There's a lot of, pieces that are like the IT. There should be an IT administrator who's like party to the school ones. I mean, if there's hacking, a whole bunch of things to think about. And like at a school recently, not that long ago at not Maynard, but somebody posted some pornography on an account, and like if you could that happen, and how is it school controlled, and how you're tracking that and all of that. So I just want to make sure that maybe we can get a recommendation from John about what the process, like how that is. And I just want to make sure we're following that with fidelity for all of these accounts that we are seeing that are, if they are like, yes, this class of 2029 account is, yes, this is something that is being monitored by IT, or no, it's not. So I think if we should know what we're responsible for ultimately.
Yep.
And not that long ago, we did have an account that was administrated by somebody who had some, things, pictures that were personal of nature. And I want to just make sure that this is why this policy was originally initiated, to set very clear guidelines on what is, appropriate for each roles and what we should not be, and what kind of contents and information should be published. So I just want to make sure we're aligning with that, and we're keeping true to that. It doesn't become too unwieldy. So can we get maybe an inventory at some point? Maybe that would be a good place to start. Brian, an inventory of all of the social media accounts that we knowingly associate with Maynard Public School. And I think that would be helpful for the school committee to be aware of. So if we get questions on something that's posted here or something that's posted there, we can genuinely say that that's not under school committee control or school purview.
Yep.
Okay.
But just to make it what you're saying clear, that's not going into this policy.
No, it just came out of, like, there's a lot of requirements for the policy, like, of having that, but I don't know of all the accounts that are out there that, if an administrator's,
But what I'm saying is that right now, we're looking at the policy. And so I just want to make it clear that what you're saying is not affecting this policy.
no, that's why I was thinking it might be like an appendix or something that would be like later on, that we would be like, these are the approved, or whatever that might be. However, a conversation later. Wouldn't change the contents of the policy, but reading the policy, I was leading like, do we know which accounts that are ours, and I was asked that recently. I'm like, I don't think that's our school account. So to know who's following it, like, so if we look at an account, is there an administrator on it, that kind of stuff.
Just a time check. That you guys
Yep.
know, so.
So, all right. Yeah, so that was my only question or feedback on this policy. But it's more related to like an attachment maybe later.
I have a question, sorry, it's not about the policy.
Okay.
But there's a sentence in here, so I have a question for Brian. Where it talks about electronic contacts with parents, guardians related to students' academics or other school-related matters shall be through school sanctioned modes of communication only, which is great, but it leads to my question of, are staff and teachers trained on FERPA rules and regulations as to what can be released within that electronic communication and how to identify that the person who is actually communicating electronically actually is the parent or legal guardian and has access to the information.
So everybody goes to appropriate training every year.
Okay.
For the training.
Okay,
An example, it gets a little dicey. I don't know that I would know who I'm talking to.
all right. I know, because on the college level, we have all sorts of triggers when we get electronic communication. So we have passcodes, we have, that sort of stuff that a parent has to provide to be able to access via electronic communication, to identify themselves properly, that they actually do have the ability to speak to and receive information.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, they are trained to, but I don't have it. I didn't.
Because it's a huge issue in my head at the moment, because I'm writing the procedure. So I was curious.
I mean, I know we definitely have training for that.
Yeah.
Electronic communication and all those things, but identifying the person on the other end is.
Because I know schools have gotten in trouble. Oh, how efficient, sir. It's just.
Alexis, do you have any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, Hillary?
Nope.
Mary? Mauro?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, just making sure. I know you talked about it, but I wasn't sure if you had any other feedback. So this is a second read. Are we comfortable? This is amending the policy. So I will go ahead and make a motion that we amend policy IJNDD, social media, with edits. And is it effective?
Not with edits.
Oh, no,
I
not
mean-
with edits.
That's what this is.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I thought you said that Mary had something. I'm sorry.
No, that is from the first read, she had questions that we then made changes.
Got it. So it's
That's
approving the amended policy. Got it. And effective, is that, there some question about the effective date also? Hillary, you had brought this up before. I just want to confirm.
Yeah, we have, a policy that says that we're going to state the effective date when we, approve something. So.
From my point of view, it's effective.
Well, so we can't do that because nobody knows about it yet. So it has to have time to get on the website and. for it to be
No, but I
posted,
mean,
so.
it's effective when it's up there. Which could be tonight, when I put it up.
Oh, you're gonna do it today?
Yeah, I mean, I could.
All right, so I'm just going to finish my motion. I'm going to make a motion that we approve amended policy IJNDD, social media, effective May 8th, 2025.
Nice.
And is that
You
a second?
can't- Nice.
What?
It's approved today.
It's approved today,
Yeah.
effective
Effective
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Okay, approved today, effective tomorrow.
Second,
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, roll call, Alexis,
yes.
Hillary,
Yes.
Mauro?
Yeah.
Mary,
Yes.
Natasha, yes. Okay, motion carries. And then the chair report. Couple of updates, met with CPAC yesterday, and Heather also joined, and there was some staff that were also joining. It's been really great to have Heather's participation at every CPAC meeting. Today, there was a big event for the Special Olympics, and it was at Alumni and O'Brien. You were out there, and this was it was the towns of Maynard, was it Hudson? Can you recap which towns? Is it Stowe?
Maine or Littleton and then.
Yes.
Keys.
It was a lot of work that went into it, so I just want to congratulate the district and Heather for organizing such a great event for our students and their families and caretakers. And I think in the future, it wasn't something that was broadly shared because it was more some privacy concerns as well. So I think in the future we'll look to see how we can circulate. And we had a couple of ideas that we thought about for future years that might be able to get more community engagement as well. We talked about potentially revisiting having a unified sports team, which we had before COVID hit, and then we just haven't revisited that. So that was one area, and just some other events that were successful that had more broader interaction, which we had like the polar plunge one year. Principal Barth in the winter had students that came out, and that was also in support of Special Olympics as well, and came through water balloons at him, which was really nice that he did. So a lot of work there, and I think it was very successful. So thanks everyone for the work that went into that. I also just wanted to, I know this week or past couple of days have been a lot of appreciation. So I just wanted to just make sure to take a moment to extend appreciation and for all the work that for our teachers, administrative assistants, school nurses. I know a couple weeks it was paraprofessionals, all that live and work in Maynard. I know that's really a celebration that's happening kind of like a very defined one day or 1 week. This week is teachers, but really I think everyone understands and knows that the work is nonstop and it's constant. And I think Maynard has really been a great example of how great everyone's been able to support our students or lean on each other in our community, your peers. And we're just a better school community for it. So thank you to all of those. Your work is profoundly appreciated now but really all the time. And Colleen, as our administrative assistant that supports the school committee directly, thank you for all that you do. You're kind of the woman behind the scene who really keeps things going. So thank you so much for that. I know I don't think I had said it the last meeting or missed it, but I wanted to restate it again for you. And also just a early happy Mother's Day to all the moms and aunties and dads who are moms that are in the community who care for kids around. So that's really all that I had. And then from the school perspective, any other, Mary, did you have any other updates for?
A couple of things, I just wanted to reiterate about, and Ryan, your tribute to the teachers, and especially to the teachers, about the Grateful Dead and all, I was really heartfelt, it was really. So, thank you for your efforts, that, you said it so beautifully, and into the nurses too, so thank you for that. And then I did have a question, because we were talking about the cell phone, policy, and I thought that we were gonna finalize, are we gonna finalize the policy for next year, because this year was pilot? And I know that Liz sent out a note to high school parents, for instance, asking a survey, what did you think, things like that, I'm gonna do any tweaking
Yeah,
to it.
I'll check with the high school administration, see where they're at now that it's been almost a year.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, right, so it would be nice to really solidify that, and if the state comes in, so be it, but at least for us to have something solid.
Well, I think we approved a policy, right? But then the high school was looking to do, like, they were piloting something that was less restrictive than what we had approved, like for Fowler, right? So there was a little bit, because theirs was more like some level of self-policing, I think. So yeah, we were supposed to get some data, like, what was working or not.
My last question is, Brian's evaluation process in that.
Oh, yes, that was, I forgot to mention that in my report. So, thank you.
So that,
Yeah. So we're meeting in,
It's still good to have it, for Brian's sake, it's good to have it by.
yes. So we are meeting next week for personnel. And we're going to kind of flesh out those things at our next school committee meeting. We should be getting Brian's, information to share with us. And then, but before then, what Mauro, myself and Brian will work on is, like finalizing the dates for for the school committee to, read it, get comments, who's going to be, and then we can talk about the compiler. Although we have no compiler set, I know Mauro has done such a great job in current years, and no pressure, but since you are going to be around for another 3 years, FYI, congratulations, yay. I don't want to reinvent the wheel on that process. So Brian, if you're what you're submitting is similar to what you submitted, the format of what you did last year, I think that's what basically, I think Mauro, right, was acceptable. And then okay.
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
That'd be great.
It was wonderful last year. I was traumatized the first couple of years, and then last year made it so much.
Yeah, it was really
More
great. Last
doable.
year was really good.
A lot better to work through.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have, so after after personnel meets, we'll kind of like, again, finalize with some dates and then communicate to the school committee at large on what those dates are and what the expectations. So thank you, Mary, I put a note someplace else and I forgot to mention it in my report. Anything else, Mary?
Yeah.
Okay, Mauro?
The only other thing that I had for outreach, but that was mainly for the override, was I think we talked about doing school visits for both Fowler and the high school. And then we also need to do like meeting with teachers. So I'm not really sure how we can fit all that in without. So we have both Fowler and the high school have teacher meetings on the Tuesday. Right, the 13th.
I don't think we'll be able to do, and this is just my thought out loud. Is there a way that we could maybe think about after the override, only because if there is an impact that's larger, I would like to be there, into like, just to, it's not just like they just have to deal with it.
So the next one is June 10th for both schools.
Yeah, so maybe we look at the June one, because the Green Meadow one happened already, but I think the June one would be better, because by then we would know if we have an opportunity to be more positive, or if we need to have more of a supportive message, and just understand more, prepare like what the questions might be. There's probably gonna be a lot more uncertainty if the override doesn't pass.
Okay.
That would be my thought. I don't know how everyone else feels about that. If anyone feels strongly to do it sooner, or is June 10th okay? Okay, I see yes, head nod. So, okay, great. And then Mauro, did you have another question about outreach or something else, or that was it?
Oh, no, the only other thing I had was also Brian's year end, so.
Okay. Yeah, we did. Okay, great. Hillary?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Oh, actually,
Um,
how's have there been signups for childcare for town meeting?
if we have students, both some high school and upper follow students and some staff.
Awesome.
I also have two teenage girls who are being voluntold. They will be um, they will be joining as well. So if anything, to learn the civic process, but they will be helping with some of that as well. And so it's an 8th grader and a junior. So more the merrier. And I think from what I heard last time, Brian, some of the paras were going to be helping, and so that's why I figured like if when the other votes happen, that they might give, if you have more teenagers there, they can relieve any paras who want to go and for the school votes and listen or comment. So, all right. Anything else on Alexis? Did you have anything? All right, so then we'll go ahead and the consent agenda. So these are first reads. I just want to make sure that Mara, are these still current for first
No,
reads? No.
we're not doing first reads on ACH or JF, so only JJIF-R and JJJ.
Okay. All
And
right,
the other
and
not on here that was in the folder that I wanted to get done was rescinding that Guy Fowler scholarship policy. But we will do that the next meeting.
yeah, I think we could that's what I'm sorry if I didn't ask that, but I was thinking that, yeah, when we do like the approval, because when we would just like rescind, anything related to that before and then
Well,
approve it.
that one is not
Well, it's not
it
even
is-
related. Got it.
right. So it's fine.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry about that.
right.
Okay, so then we will be tabling the school policy first reads for immigration enforcement, which is ACH, and the you said school
School admissions.
admissions, which is the JF. Okay, so then without objection, we'll go ahead and approve the first read for athletic concussion regulations, which is amended for JJIF-R and JJJ for student scholarships. Okay, and no objections. Those are approved as a first read. And then moving on to minutes and warrants. And I know Colleen, you had sent something just for that. So what were no minutes, but the warrants, what were they again? Sorry.
53 through 59.
Okay. So without objection, I will move that we accept approved warrants 25-053, -054, -055, -056, -057, -058, -059. Okay, no objections. Those are accepted. And I do, before we move on, want to highlight that as a school committee, we collectively have a responsibility to approve the warrants in a timely manner. And I know Mary is probably the best of us because as soon as it gets sent out, she's approving it on Thursday. She probably approved next week's already. So I just want to kind of do a call to action for the rest of the school committee members, myself included, that we are a little bit more diligent in doing it before Monday at 9 o'clock. That is what we have set our protocol for. And that's what Jane is looking out for. So I don't know if anyone, Alexis, you have your stamp, right? You got your stamp already, so you can do the approvals remotely. Okay, is that okay? Great. So anyway, just to reinforce that, I told Jane I would kind of echo. I want to make sure that she's not nagging us more than we need to be. She's got other stuff to do as well. And then on a related matter, I'm going to work with Colleen. We're about providing some payroll information. I know back in the day, we would have like a sheet of like what our payroll numbers were. You know, to that point, because there is a payroll aspect that we are also approving, but we really don't get a lot of insight in what it is at that point. So
Send a copy of what has been sent in the past.
yeah, I was looking at that, but I didn't get a chance to put it on I wanted to talk about it in the budget subcommittee meeting and I didn't get a chance to. So I figured for the next budget subcommittee meeting, I'll add it. Just to see if, you know, that we want to recommend that that's what we would use, that same version as well. So, all right. And then I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adjourn. Okay, all in favor? Alexis,
Yes.
Hillary,
Yes.
Mauro,
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
All right, Natasha. All right, we are adjourned at 9:08. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.